Hi, and welcome. My name is Angela Putkela,
And I'm Don Putkela.
and we're part of the Putkela group at Real Estate Professionals at Keller Williams. And this is our podcast, Welcome to Livingston. And today it's a very special treat because we have a chance to just talk, the two of us here. And we're going to be talking about buyers and the buyer experience and best strategies in today's market. So welcome. Well, I mean, it's your podcast
It
too,
is my
right?
podcast too. But I was really excited about this because we don't get a chance to just have the two of us that often. And then talking about buyers, I think this is a really good time of year to talk about that because, we're going to be getting into spring soon and the market is starting to heat up.
When is spring in real estate?
Really, it's mid-February.
Yeah.
And right now it feels like it's already starting this year. So, you have that little bit of a reprieve during the winter where maybe I'm not going out with quite as many buyers or, because the days aren't as long.
Yeah.
So the wonderful thing about December and January is it gets dark at 6 o'clock, which means I'm done showing homes at 6 o'clock.
yeah, it's all good. And, in terms of weather related, a lot of times people don't necessarily want to see a house as it has snowed or.
Well, sometimes it's difficult to get up the driveway.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the grass. So as we get into the heat of the market here, we thought it was a good time to kind of touch base on where everything is at right now and where it's going, right?
Right. That we felt some of our listeners may be starting to think about purchasing and the good news is at least getting started now, having that conversation really prepares you for being just ready to go when it all happens. So, we thought that it'd be best to kind of segue first into like just the buyer experience.
Right. Well, just before we start that, I thought I'd give like a 30-second
that's a great point
overview of where the market is at a little bit. So for buyers specifically, because so often we're talking to we're talking to buyers and sellers, but from the buyer's perspective, what people are seeing right now is just there's not a lot of inventory. So it shapes how we work with our buyers because there's not as many homes for people to look at because the market is so tight. So when you have a buyer that they're getting started in that process, having that conversation to say, every week could be a brand new market. You're looking at a new set of homes every week. And that demand is still really high right now.
But houses are coming on the market.
So
100%. Even though, people say, holy cow, there's not very many houses right now. It's kind of a misnomer because houses are coming up. It's just that they get snapped up quickly.
Right. So, the number of sales year over year is a little down, but there's still a ton of homes. And like you said, it's just that every week you have a new set of homes. So you're pending or you're going under contract quickly. And then the next week it's, hey, we're going to send you a new set of homes. Here's a whole different variety to look at. And if you don't like this set, there's a new one 7 days later.
Yeah. So it's if someone has been a buyer before, so they're not a first-time home buyer, but the interesting part is that this is a new experience for them also because this is not traditionally how the market has been or operated. It's sort of a new way of thinking for a lot of people.
Right. Because if you've been 5 or 7 years in a home or you've bought or sold before, you're under this impression that I'm going to go out and look at some homes.
Well,
then
I'm going
to, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to go out to dinner. I'm going to talk to family and friends. Maybe I'll see it again in a week.
Yeah, rightfully so. For the longest time, that's kind of how it worked. But this is just a whole different market.
There's some speed involved now.
Yes. And we're going to get to that. So,
yes.
So at least for people getting started, starting to think about it in terms of how do buyers pick an agent?
Well, I think the biggest part is comfort level. I think that personality is a big deal. This is someone that you're going to trust to give you good advice while you're walking through homes.
Experience as well.
Oh, experience 100%. Yes.
But you have to get along with them.
Right. But having that advice, having that experience, being able to trust that person to be able to listen to you and find the right homes for you and be available. All of those things are really important, but there's a huge trust factor with your agent that they're working on your behalf and that they're out there actively searching for a home for you, and then maybe able to preview it for you, able to answer those questions for you, able to
offer solutions.
Right. Guide you through the
Ideas.
process.
Mm-hmm. Great. Excellent. So in terms of, different ways, different methods, it does get interesting. A lot of times people do look for a referral from like a trusted family member or friend of, hey, who did you use? Sometimes that's a good way to go. Some people meet someone at an open house. Someone actually, may know a realtor that they know and trust. Sometimes people will just click on that bullet button on Zillow, and next thing you know, your realtor's kind of decided for you. So that's something to be aware of, that if there is a particular realtor that you want to work with, you would want to reach out to them rather than clicking on any of the programs or anything.
Right. And I think it's important to have a conversation with that person, to see again what that comfort level is, potentially go out there and check on the reviews that they have. Mm-hmm. Do they have a website? What does their Facebook page look like? If you're looking at Google reviews or you're on Zillow, do they have Zillow reviews? Do they do business in the area that you're looking for?
That's a great point too.
You want to make sure that they're knowledgeable about the area. If we're talking about Livingston County or Southeast Michigan, we're very knowledgeable in a lot of areas. And in Livingston County, we're very, very knowledgeable. Looking at the different areas that someone may want to move into, being able to give them an insight into some things that they may not know about.
Right, all those little nuances,
right.
Because especially so many people are moving into the county, in some cases they may have a realtor that they know and trust and like, but it's in their own hometown, in their own area that, that person may not be available to drive all the way out to Livingston County, or may not have that knowledge in that regard too. So it's weighing out a lot of those things in terms of what's going to be the right fit and best fit for you. So once that's set, you have your realtor, you know who you're going to use. At that point in time, the key factors behind your purchase is really going to revolve around your price range, the condition of the home, and the location. Do you want to offer?
Yeah, no, I think all of those things are really important. If you've sat down and talked to a lender, I know we're going to talk about pre-approval in a little bit here, but knowing what your price range is, and sometimes when you're sitting down talking to them, they may say, hey, you're pre-approved up to $600,000. And you say, well, I don't want to spend $600,000. Yeah. So sometimes we're not looking in that number of what your pre-approval number is, but what your monthly payment you're comfortable with. Right. Because then things such as taxes come into account. If you're looking at a condo, what your HOA dues come into play to make sure that you're happy with that price that you're in. And then you go from there and you look at condition. Some people are very handy and they want something that, they can make their own, and they're comfortable with, remodeling kitchens or painting or putting in new carpet or a number of items, tearing down walls. Other people want a move-in ready home and they don't want to do any of the work. They have tools, but they've never touched them.
Right. We've seen both, we've seen people that don't know which side of a screwdriver to use.
Right.
And that's okay. There's homes that are going to be out there that are just perfect and move-in ready. But sometimes if you have that ability to, whether it's just doing some minor cosmetic things,
right,
versus, major renovations.
Or you have those people that they know how to do all those things and they did it on their last house and they don't want to do it again.
Right.
They're like, we've done this, we've played this game. I'm okay now. I want it ready this time because I felt like I was spending a lot of time getting the house to where I wanted it. Now I want to start from a higher level. Right. So we have that conversation with people, and then we talk about location. They like to say location is key. And it is. At the same time, I have a lot of conversations with buyers where they have a key location that they're looking at, but then sometimes I'm asking them probing questions. I'm saying, well, what about this area? Or what about this area? Maybe they're looking somewhere and they're not finding something they want, and I'm able to get them a little bit more bang for their buck. Have you thought about
because
questions?
Sometimes, especially for those buyers, I think that they aren't finding the house they want in their price range, in the location that they want, in the condition that they want. Sometimes if you have some give on one of those things, And in some cases, it's location, because with Livingston County, our taxes are so low. And traditionally, we've had a lot of bang for our buck out here. So in some cases where people maybe didn't consider Livingston County, that's part of been the appeal.
Well, right. Well, that's why I think a buyer consultation or sitting down with your agent at the beginning and having a long talk about what you're looking for in a home.
Right.
You know, some people are, I don't want any stairs in my home. This is really important to me. Other people are, you know, I lived on a dirt road and I don't want to live on a dirt road anymore because, you know, I was sick of washing my car.
Or I never even want that experience.
Exactly.
Either.
So going through all those things and putting a tick list together of these are the items I'm looking for. These are my non-negotiables. These are the ones that I'm able to negotiate on.
Right. That this is my preferred situation, right? Preferred features on a house. But to know that you do have some wiggle room, that letting your realtor know which things will you not negotiate. You know, we have to have a master bathroom that's updated. Whatever that is, that's important to you. We need a finished basement. That's critical. Those are very common things that your realtor will be able to help you with.
Exactly. And then when, I'm going through a house with someone, I'm having a secondary conversation to be able to ascertain which of these items are the ones that we're able to move a little bit on or give them some advice on, because a lot of times people don't know what they want until they start looking at homes.
Right.
And that's okay. It's a process, and I love taking buyers out that might not know what they like yet until they start going into homes. And after we've gone through 3 or 4 homes, then we start to get an idea of, yeah, this is what I'm really looking for.
That's fair. Because, they may not know what it is that they want exactly yet now. I mean, those open concept or space for an office, all of those things. All right. My goodness, we could probably talk tons on all of this. We should probably briefly touch on lenders and types of loan.
So on the pre-approval, it's important to sit down with someone early. If you're a buyer out there and you're just starting to look, sit down with a lender, get pre-approved. If you're already talking to a real estate agent or realtor, see who they recommend. A local lender that you can sit down with and you can have a conversation with that's accessible. That is so valuable. Again, personality driven, what they're able to offer you, obviously interest rates important, those sorts of things. There's a lot of great credit unions out there, banks, local lenders, national lenders.
Right.
But going into the process and sitting down and saying, this is what I'm working with. Absolutely. Is an important first step.
And that person will be able to talk you through the different types of loans and what is going to be the best option for you personally.
Right. Yeah. So, we've worked with people that are cash, conventional, VA loan, rural development loan, FHA loan. Every one of them have their list of requirements, and a good agent's going to know what those are and be able to work you through the process. Because if you are taking an FHA loan, well, there's certain houses that aren't going to be approved for that loan. And as an agent, the last thing I want to do is walk one of my buyers through a house and have them fall in love with the house and then have to say, well, your type of loan, you're not able to get that house.
Right.
So I do my research beforehand to make sure. And if there's a house that's questionable, I let them know before we walk through. Listen, we're walking through the house to see if this is even possible.
Right. And communication is just such a critical thing.
Yep.
It really makes a difference. So when should somebody start looking?
Now.
Honestly, the more time you give yourself, for those that their lease is going to be up in a month or two, woo, holy cow. You really want to get started when you have time, at least a good couple months.
Right. But I would say this is where we're different from other realtors sometimes. There's some agents that you'll talk to that they don't want to have you looking at a house until you're ready to put in an offer. I have no problem I have some buyers that I've been working with for months, sometimes over a year, where we might not be going out to look at homes, but we're having discussions, we're setting up searches. And then if they see something they want to look at, we're going out to look at it, because sometimes part of that process is going out and figuring out what communities you want to be in. Right. And if you don't know, that's going to take a little bit of time.
Right.
So you want to start early.
Exactly. So the earlier you can, then you can do it at your own pace. Then you don't feel pressured, and that's the ideal for everybody.
Right.
So good. So let's talk about an earnest money deposit. What is that, and what's important about it?
Well, that shows that you have skin in the game. It shows that you're serious about your offer. That's money that's going to be held in a non-interest-bearing escrow account towards your closing costs or your down payment. So you want to put a healthy amount in there, but not such a large number that you're stressing out about it. So, if someone's putting in a offer on a $400,000 house, I may ask them, hey, can we put down a $4,000 EMD? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a $3,000 EMD. Again, it's a number that everybody is comfortable
3,
with.
4, 5.
Right.
In 10, 10's great. But at that point in time, is that really even necessary?
I don't think so. I think that the bigger the number gets, the more stress that's involved with the number. That's money that obviously goes towards your down payment, but is no longer accessible. Mm-hmm. And, if you have issues and such, then the bigger the number is, the more potential you have for issues. While I make sure that there are no issues, I always want to have an open and honest conversation with my buyers and say, the most important person in this transaction is you, and you need to be comfortable with that number. So if you only have $1,000 towards an EMD, then we're writing an EMD for $1,000.
Right. It's what works best.
It's what works best.
And if, through inspection, the house does not meet your standards, at that point in time, you get that earnest money deposit back.
Right.
Really
So we do a lot of education with our buyers. It's one of the most important things. So what I talk to them about is there's 3 key parts that you can get your EMD back with absolutely no issues. Number 1, there was an issue on inspection. We were not able to come to terms with it. And for one reason or another, you're walking away from the deal because there was something about the house that made you pause. Number 2, the home didn't appraise for value, and the bank said, well, we're not going to give you the loan. And number 3, through no fault of your own, you lost the loan. There was a life change. There was a job change. Something happened that the bank said, no, you're not qualified anymore.
Right. Then you get that.
You get that back. So we make sure that we communicate so there's no stress involved there either.
Right. It's really more, you're 3 weeks in and I've changed my mind. I don't want to buy this house anymore.
Right.
That's kind of it. It's meant to protect the seller who has pulled their home off the market, that you in good faith are willing to buy the house. But if you change your mind on a whim, then that earnest money deposit goes to them.
Right.
So that's what it's for. So, all right, if we could touch on new construction versus resale, and then segueing into just considering resaleability.
Yeah, so new construction versus resale, a lot of people don't realize that you should have a real estate agent as well when you're looking at new construction. I think this is because you have someone that is connected to you, that has a fiduciary responsibility to you, that is looking out for you and is catching those things that you might not catch. In new construction, there's still a lot of questions to answer. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of things to go through. And you're still talking about lengthy contracts. And you want someone that's knowledgeable about that looking over it for you. We do quite a bit in new construction. We can connect you with a really good lender. There's different processes in new construction. Construction loans are
whole different animal.
And a lot of buyers don't understand how much different new construction can be, and that you're talking 6 to 9 months.
Right. And a lot of buyers, I would say most buyers that are considering new construction are also considering resale. And so they come to us and they say, we don't know yet. We want to be open. We want to, consider the options. If there is something for us, great. But if not, then maybe building makes sense. And so that agent should be able to talk that through with you to find out what the best situation is for you.
Right. And with the inventory being what it is right now, we have more people that are considering new construction.
Yes.
Because there is a lot of construction going on in Livingston County.
That's true.
So a lot of options.
And as you're looking at homes, whether it is brand new or if it is, a new build or a home that's already been built, resaleability is important. You're buying this, you're moving into it. Maybe it's your forever home. You're going to be there forever. You don't always know. And because of that, if it's something that's on a very busy road, well, even though it's a huge seller's market right now and things are selling, at some point when you go to sell it, it may not be. And if there's a feature around it, it's close to industrial or on a busy road or freeway noise, those are things that may make it difficult to sell the house later. So that's something that's important to think through now. You may be able to get a better deal on the house right this second, but you could be in a world of hurt later.
Well, and that's one of the conversations we have with buyers when we're walking through homes. What updates are there still available to make?
Right. What's the upside?
What's the upside on the home? Where could we see this being in 3 to 5 years? And having those conversations again with, the basement is unfinished. Well, if you finish the basement, what would this do to the value of your home? Oh, there's Formica countertops. We're going to put granite in. We're going to change out the appliances. We're going to put hardwood flooring in. How does this affect the price long term? So those are important conversations to have too, because so many people are thinking long term. And, the average person is only staying in their house 5 to 7 years. So at some point, you're probably going to be a seller. And, I always say, you're buying for you. Right. You're not buying for someone else. I don't want your primary reason for buying to be the resaleability of the house. But at the same time, we want to make that part of the conversation.
Right.
It's supposed to fit for you now, for where you're at and for where you're going.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Because it isn't an investment at the end of the day, too, and then the importance of having an inspection. Inspections
are hugely important. Always have a professional inspector come out and inspect the home.
Not an uncle, not a dad. We see that sometimes.
An uncle and a dad can be a great resource. And sometimes if you have an uncle or a dad that's in the trades, that's a builder, that is very knowledgeable, this is a great person to get insight in. But, you could have an uncle that is, an electrician, or an uncle that is a roofer, but they don't know anything about septic systems. Right. You could have an uncle that's a plumber, but they don't know anything about electrical, or they don't know anything about structural. When you have an inspector, you know that it's well-rounded.
To recommend a good inspector for you.
Right.
And that way, you've covered all of your bases. I mean, honest to goodness, when someone uses a family member, God forbid if something gets missed, and then it's that family member that helped them. I mean, boy, oh boy, that's not anything that anybody wants.
Right. And, when we talk to inspectors, they're looking for those health and safety issues right now, but they're also looking for those things for you to put on your to-do list in the next 2 to 5 years. They'll be able to tell you, hey, the roof is really good right now, but it probably has about 36 months on it. So start planning for it. Those items are important.
Chance to really get to know the house.
Yes.
And on a deeper level, since this is such a huge purchase. In many cases, this is the largest purchase you'll make in your life. So the investment of having that inspected, particularly if there is a health and safety issue, we can negotiate with the seller to have them cover it and pay for that. So that way, as you get into the house, that's not something that you're saddled with.
And I think it gives the buyers great peace of mind. I've had buyers that I really like the house, but after spending 2.5 hours at the inspection, now I love the house.
Yes.
Because, they came through and they made a decision in 10, 15 minutes, which we're about to talk to about the competitive environment. But an inspection is 2-3 hours in the house where you're able to become comfortable with it. You're always seeing things. Oh, I didn't notice that when I walked through the first time, or I thought a
lot of nice surprises usually.
Usually a ton of nice surprises.
It's a great time to bring a tape measure, because a lot of times people will start thinking about which furniture. Is their current furniture going to work? Do they need to purchase something? Make your tape, tape measurements there at that
As long as you're not going out to get a new credit card or a line of credit to make that purchase.
Don't do that. Talk to your lender about that. So I'll tell you how about if I take a lightning round just to talk about navigating the competitive environment?
Yes, and then lightning round.
Yes, okay, lightning round. So it's obviously a very competitive environment now since it's so seller driven, right? So speed to see the homes. As soon as something's listed, get out as quickly as you can to see it. Keep an open mind. If your realtor suggesting a home that might be a good fit for you, even though you're not so sure on it, go check it out. Be patient, because the houses are kind of trickling in, but also be flexible, and above all, be decisive. because if that house is there and you are interested and you want that house, put that offer in right away. And, you may not have to go gigantically above asking. In some cases, that speed factor is even more important than the dollars.
100%. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, but have that open mind, be flexible. And, number one, you said it at the beginning, speed to see the homes right now is important. Yeah. Home goes up on Friday. A lot of times if it's a good home and it's priced right, it's going to be going on Sunday.
Yes. So
you need to get out there and see it on the early side, because those offers that come in early, sometimes it gives you a little bit of a leg up. Or if you're seeing it early and you need to sleep on it, if you see it that first morning, you can at least maybe have till the next day, right?
Right.
It gives you a little bit of that flexibility. Don't be like, oh, well, we're going to see it after the weekend, or we'll see it on Sunday. And then, you show up with your agent and the agent has to say, hey, they just called me and they already said we have 3 offers.
Highest and best. Yeah, exactly. You're always better to be the first offer on the scene than the last.
Yes.
Right? So when that happens, when there is multiple offers, let's talk about important strategic points.
Yeah. So the points that we wanted to go over are, number one, price. Mm-hmm. Number two, occupancy. And then we're going to talk a little bit about appraisal assurances, escalation clauses.
Yeah.
But if
we could do a whole nother episode
yes.
on that, but at least to hit the high points.
Hit the high points. Price.
Yes.
It's important to be competitive. If you are in the first weekend, odds are in most cases you're going to be at asking or above. Yes. If you walk through the front door with your agent and it is Friday afternoon and the listing went up that morning and there's 8 cards on the counter, you're going to have to put an offer in above asking to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
A good agent will do some research for you. We'll reach out to the agent on the other side. We'll have a conversation, and we'll have a really good insight as to where you need to be in this transaction.
As much as can happen.
Yes.
Because at least by putting feelers out to find out which factors are most important to the seller, if this is something that you're considering.
Yeah, well, the thing is, some sellers, their number one thing is it needs to close fast. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're relocating.
Most is price, though.
Price is number one. But number two is occupancy, or maybe speed. Occupancy, there's a lot of people out there that are contingent, meaning they cannot purchase a new home until they sell the home that they're currently in. So they can't hold 2 mortgages at the same time. In those cases, usually they need to live in the home for at least a few days, maybe a week after closing, to be able to move into the next home. So if you're able to be flexible and say, hey, we're going to give you 14 days in the house, take that stress away from them so that they can easily and comfortably move into their next home, that's going to offer them a lot of peace of mind, and it's going to put your offer up near the top as long as you match on price as well.
Right. And we certainly do see 30 days of free occupancy a lot of times on our listings, and that's something that the sellers absolutely love. Something to be aware of, though, is assume whatever number of days of occupancy you've given a seller, assume that they're going to take them all. In a lot of cases, they do better. They have left sooner, but the buyer, once you purchase your home, you want to get into it. And I get that, but maybe the days you've given them is what gave you the leg up.
Well, and that's where having a good agent makes a big difference as well, because it's open line of communications.
Yes. Communicating not just with you, but with the other side too, to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. 100%. So those are important factors. So appraisal assurances, what does that mean?
Okay, so an appraisal assurance is you are saying that you're going to cover a specified amount of difference if the appraisal comes in at under your purchase price. So let's say that the home listed at $300,000 and you and your agent decide to write an offer of $315,000. And then you put an appraisal assurance of $10,000. That means as long as the home appraises for at least $305,000, anywhere in that difference between $305,000 to $315,000, you're going to cover the shortfall so that the seller is assured of at least getting
that amount. So within that means that you have to make sure that you have that cash available.
Yes, it's going to be above and beyond your down payment and your closing costs.
However, you are ultimately paying the same amount for the house. So understand that you're just doing it in a different way. You're putting more cash up front. That will mean that your monthly payment will decrease.
It's almost like increasing the down payment. It isn't increasing the down payment, but it's almost like that when you do the math.
Right. Sometimes people plan to put a healthy amount down, 20% or even more. At that point in time, holy cow, just definitely.
Yeah, and if you're coming from a position of strength, then an appraisal assurance is something that you can do.
Right.
All right.
Because how often do you run into it getting triggered and the home not appraising?
Not as often as you think.
Right. A lot of cases, the bank says, you know what, we're good with that. Value is fine. It's an independent appraiser that values it.
Your agent will be able to tell you how they feel about if this is going to be triggered or not. Right. You know, if you're in a highly competitive situation and you're coming in $40,000 over asking, well, then there's a better chance of that appraisal assurance being triggered. But your agent should be doing some research and should be talking to you and saying, if I had listed the house, this is what I would list it for. This is where I feel comfortable here. This is, so you know what you're going into. Again, eliminating those unknowns as much as possible.
Absolutely. Having your eyes wide open.
Yep.
So sometimes people talk about personal letters, and there are some pitfalls behind it.
Yeah. In the environment we're in, we don't think that personal letters are a good thing right now.
Not necessarily.
I think that, when you're looking at it from an aspect of your,
Well, part of it too, and a lot of times people think, oh my gosh, this will be the best thing in the whole wide world, and they pour their heart out into this full out letter. Well, sometimes there's triggers in there that, that in terms of the seller of like the picture you're painting, is that the picture they want to see, right?
Yeah, I 100% that your offer should stand on its own.
Right.
Okay, it's numbers, right?
Yes.
Do they like the type of loan you have? Do they like the closing date? Do they like the price? Is the occupancy there? What are the terms of your loan?
Right.
What are the terms of your offer? And let it 100% stand on the terms of the offer, because, when we talk to our sellers, if we're looking at it from the opposite side, we tell them 100% it's based on the numbers.
Right.
Right. So what is that net at the end? And some agents will have a lot of creative ways to look at net and to maybe put some strategies in to be able to help you out in a very competitive situation. And we have a lot of those as well, because every single situation is different. Every offer is unique. Mm-hmm. And we look at what is the end goal we're looking for and how motivated are you to get this house? One of the questions we'll ask sometimes is, if I call you tomorrow and say that you didn't get it, how upset are you going to be? Right. And based on what that is at, then let's talk about what kind of offer we want to make.
Absolutely. Because sometimes someone's like, well, I don't know if I want to really offer that much. I can, but, and that's fine. But understand that if you didn't give all you could and you wanted the house that badly, then that disappointment is doubly
But again,
difficult.
You have to be comfortable with the numbers.
Yes.
I never want a buyer to feel pressure to put in an offer. We're always coming from contribution, and it's what's right for you for where you're at right now.
Yes. And when it comes to letters, generally speaking, as you're looking at multiple offers, it isn't necessarily that letter that's going to tip it on over. And, in terms of,
those letters can stress out buyers too.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I have to write a letter. What do I say? What do I not to say?
It's not right? Yeah. At that point, I'd say stay away from letters. And in terms of fair housing is very important. And
100%.
Us as realtors, we are very, very careful with that and never want anything to be called into
No one.
No.
You are never discriminate in any way. There's so many. You want your offer to stand on its own.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. A lot of, different and important things in terms of,
multiple offers.
Yeah, multiple offers. Now, escalation clauses. Can you explain what that is?
Very quickly, because I know we're running a little long here, but escalation clauses, this is where you're going to put in an offer and you're going to say, I will beat any other offer by $500, by $1,000 up to X amount. So you're setting the ceiling on where your offer is. Think of it as kind of like an auction, where, you're saying, 500, going once, going twice, 550. So you're escalating it up to a certain amount. And that's only triggered if there's a bona fide offer that the agent on the other side shows proof of to your agent. So just by putting it out there, it isn't automatically going to get triggered. And I'm having a conversation with our buyers about that. Is the escalation clause right, or is it better just to put in a
clean offer,
offer
with that large amount, right? Because what happens is it's an incentive for that seller to hang on to as long as they can, 24, 48, 30, longer, in order to fish for more offers, right? Yep. And as a buyer, you don't want them to be trying to get more offers. You just want them to say, woo, that's a great offer. Let's just take it and go.
Right. And again, we will put expirations on our offer.
Yes.
But we're also having a conversation with the agent on the other side saying, how long do you need? When are you going to be able to sit down with your clients? So we know all those things going into it.
Excellent. Good. Inspection waivers, never do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
You can do a pass-fail on inspection, but don't waive your inspection.
Yep. Always get a professional inspection and have the ability to walk away if the home does not pass that inspection.
Right, because you never know what you don't know.
Finally, an important thought is the agent that you pick, that you want to work with, if it's the environment and the type of house that you're looking at has multiple offers, you want an agent that has experience in that, right? It's okay to ask your agent, have you run into the competitive situations and how often have you been able to get that offer? Last year there were 20 offers and we were able to get the house for our buyer. That wasn't our record. I think our record's 28.
Yeah, but there's a lot of situations where there are multiple offers right now. Yeah. So you want an agent that's well-versed in that, is connected in the area, knows a lot of other agents and such, because those relationships make a difference. I mean, we all know that relationships are important.
Right. But the thing is, you don't want an agent that the minute there's another offer on it, they go, oh, well, we've already lost. That's not who you want coaching your team.
Right.
You want someone that will be able to get in there and say, hey, that's okay. We're still going to put our best foot forward and let's get you this house.
Exactly.
So
yep.
Those are important things. So we hope that you have learned a lot, that this has been helpful to you in terms of buyers and, your process. I know it can be a little scary, a little stressful, but your agent is there for you. So trust them and trust the process.
Yep. And check us out on Spotify, Facebook, Apple Podcasts. Just Google Welcome to Livingston Podcast and check out our other episodes. And if you know someone that is thinking about buying, share this episode with them. We are always available to answer any and every question you may have. We love to help and we'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to Livingston.